Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It's Monday, September 25th. Starting to get those nights in the 40s, but I don't know what to say. We've been getting in the 70s in the day. So I thought today we would kind of change up a little bit. I'm not seeing where a lot of you guys are really interested in starting a business thing. We can come back to it. But I thought I'd talk about how do we end up accomplishing things? Because in every one of us, there's a procrastinator, even me. And a lot of times, we end up procrastinating on something because either we look at it as a whole and it becomes overwhelming, or it's something we just don't want to do, but still needs to get done. And that's life. That's affects us all. And see, I'm a results-driven person. And what exactly does that mean? Well, that means that when I'm out doing stuff, I like to see what I have accomplished. If it's mowing the yard, I like to see a nice, fresh cut yard that looks good. That's result driven. You're trying to get the yard cut. And a lot of people end up not doing things in life because it seems too overwhelming. And the reason it seems too overwhelming is you need to stop looking at the whole and you need to break it down. Now, sometimes, our house is like a tornado. I mean, it's not as bad as it was when the kids were at home, but sometimes it gets, and it's very overwhelming to look at the whole thing. I don't even know where to start. But if I break it down, all right, let's just do something simple. Let's start with just picking up the living room, doing a little bit of dusting, putting all the dirty dishes in the sink, then washing the dishes, washing down the appliances, work to the living room and to the dining room. Because we have two living rooms. We have the formal living room and then the living room that we just spaz out in. We got the big TV to watch. And take it in steps. That way you don't become to where you're not looking at being overwhelmed because now you've broken it down. And break the steps down on a piece of paper and then just cross it off as you go. That is anything and everything in life, including business. Now, we procrastinate on certain things because we just don't want to have to do it. We all have something that we procrastinate on. We've talked about wills. Some people procrastinate on it because I ain't going to die this week. But it's better to get it done, get it behind you just in case. You could be hit by a bus. Who knows? But you also have folks that have mental health problems that become overwhelmed even easier on even mundane tasks. And for you folks, writing it down as small chunks as you can get of simplifying it and then being able to chuck it off so that you can see that you're actually getting something done. Instead of laying in your pajamas all day long on the couch and basically immobile because you can't take it. There's just too much to get done. And then you have guys that say, why do something today when you can put it off till tomorrow? Well, I guess that's true. But for most of us, we can't do that. Um, if we did, we wouldn't get ahead, I guess. It's like with me with haying season. I get everything cranked up in the spring of the year, greased, oiled. All the oils changed, filters, everything on all the equipment. We are geared up before we normally start haying. Everything is ready. And we do a lot of the stuff in the fall, like right now, as I'm putting it away, I'm looking to see if there's anything that needs to be done. Like we had on our smaller baler, we broke a belt on it right at the tail end, so I got to fix the belt. I'm making a list, and I'm chalking it off nights and weekends, trying to get that stuff done. But when the weather is ready and the hay needs to get knocked down, we're ready. Now, Claude normally helps me with that. He enjoys getting out on the tractor, raking, and so forth, just to break up some monotony. But the last couple of years, he's been saying it's not fun anymore. When was haying fun? I mean, I enjoy it. I enjoy sitting in the tractor. I enjoy seeing accomplishments as the meadows get knocked down, as the meadows get raked, as the meadows get baled, as I stack it for the cows. Results driven. But he says I'm trying to go too fast at it. Nope. As long as the weather's holding, I'm going to get it baled up and taken care of. And as we've grown and added more farms to the list, what I've done is I've added bigger equipment that can do stuff quicker. And I can give you an example. We've always used their 9-foot pull behind rake. And the first couple of years we were doing it, there was 2 of us going around with, on these rakes. And I said, this is crazy. We're spending, because what we end up doing is double windrowing or triple windrowing. And that simply means flopping one cut into the other cut or 3 of them together. So I went out and I bought a bigger baler that could handle wider pickups for the hay heads. And then I went out and I found a used speed rake, they call it. And that simply takes 29 foot of ground, brings it all in to one windrow. And that's equivalent to 3 passes around with a 9-foot rake. That's time saving. So if it took me 3 hours to mow it, it's going to take me 1 hour to rake it and 1 hour to bale it. I already know that because of how fast things go. But that's how we do in business. We figure out ways with bigger equipment to get things done faster so that we can accomplish more. And it's like a lawn care, company, you guys out there. Looking at a big yard and using a push mower would be crazy, right? When you can use the 0 turns and Well, the walk behind zero turns and either the right on zero turns. That you can do that yard in half the time. So that means that you're going to get paid more money to get it done in less time. Yep, you're going to have bigger equipment, which costs more. But the end result is it will pay for that equipment. And for you guys that are thinking of doing something like that, again, I would start out with good used equipment, and work your way up. These guys that have got, the Ferrises and Simplicities and the big stuff, they didn't just hop right out and say, I'm going to be a lawn care company, and I'm going to go out and buy 2 brand new zero turns, weed eaters, and the whole 9 yards, without knowing that they're going to be able to pay for it. See, that's the biggest thing in life or in business, is knowing where you're at right now and where you want to be. And then setting up short-term and long-term goals of how to accomplish that. And when you're first starting out, you're looking to gain experience. You're looking to get in as cheaply as possible so that you actually can make money to put back into the business. And you set up, with the short term, well, how much growth you're hoping to accomplish. And growth comes from adding more customers to the list, because now you're getting better equipment, less breakdowns, and the end result is that you have enough profit at the end of the day to deem yourself successful at it. See, a lot of folks that don't understand business are the folks that go out and they have an idea, and on a whim they go out and they buy this equipment that they couldn't afford. And the things that they don't take into account are, breakdowns, help issues as far as if you're hiring people, because they've never done it before. You can watch YouTube videos on landscapers, or you can watch my videos on, how-tos and what not to do, so forth. But you truly never know what it's going to be like until you get in. And as I explained in Sunday's video, I explained that 90% of the people that try to start a business fail. And I would be willing to say 40% of them fail because they didn't have any idea of what it would take to reach their goals. And then there's another segment in there that has the skill set, but has decided that they don't want to make the sacrifices needed to get to where their business is profitable. And as I said before, there's nothing wrong with not wanting to start a business. A lot of stuff that I talk about, it's real world experience, and it will help you at home, at work, or in business. It's all in how we approach it. So let me give you a couple examples of what I'm talking about. There's this younger fella that I knew. His name was Dan. And his dad owned a car dealership. And Dan got it in his head that he wanted to be a professional fisherman. and he wanted to travel the circuit. Now, that's all fine and good, but as any professional fisherman will tell you, is that you first have to be able to catch fish, and you work your way up through the ranks. And the better you get at it, the more sponsors you'll get. And in the end, the sponsors will end up paying for your entries into the different events that they have on the circuit. And you'll start getting, like, Ranger boats will start offering to let you use their boat for the season for advertising. Daiwa will help you out with the fishing reels. I can go on and on. But you end up getting a bunch of sponsors that have looked at you and said, okay, you're doing well at fishing and you're winning tournaments. We'll get behind you. That's how most guys get in. But Dan was different. Dan had the idea, and he was fresh out of high school. Didn't want to go to college. But what he did was he ended up getting his parents to back him on buying a brand new truck. His father was a dealership. Brand new boat. And then he paid a company to decal everything. And they decaled the truck and the boat partly with the dealership's name and the brands that they carried. But the problem was Dan had never won a tournament. He looked the part. And his parents had heavily invested in the stuff to look the part. But the man just didn't know how to catch fish. He left out one of the big things, and that is you need to first be able to catch fish, and you need to catch it on a regular basis, and you need to know how to catch fish if you're going to be in a fishing tournament. Whether it be the Bassmaster Elites or the Walleye Derbies or what have you, you need to know how to catch those fish. So was that a good business model? No. Because after a couple of years, the parents got tired of backing him when they weren't seeing any results. He wasn't even coming in high on the local tournaments. The other guy I knew, Bill decided that he was going to get into landscaping. And he did the same thing, except for he didn't have his parents backing him. He took a chance and went out and bought a brand new truck, a brand new enclosed trailer, brand new zero turns, brand new weed eaters, brand new blowers, everything that he would need to be a landscaper. And he had the truck and trailer wrapped so that it had his business name and residential, commercial on the sides. It looked beautiful. But the biggest thing Bill didn't have was customers. So that wasn't a well thought out plan either, because how are you going to pay for all that stuff? He ended up having to take on a second job just to pay for that stuff as he started building. And I'll be honest with you, he didn't last a couple of years either. And he ended up selling out. But that's anything in life. If you don't plan well, how can you succeed? You have to think things out. You can't fly by the seat of your pants. And I know a lot of folks that do, but in business you can't. But I know another guy named Ralph, he's an older gentleman, and he had gone through a divorce that left him penniless. And he moved up into this area, and he used credit cards to buy a farm. And he started dealing in cattle, buying and selling cattle. He would buy cattle, put them out on contract. The farmer would pay him monthly for the animal until it's paid for with interest. He would take a farm and do the interior work on the house, do the interior work on the barn, get it looking really nice, and then flip it for twice what he had into it. And it wasn't that long, and he had his credit cards all paid for, and he was showing a positive thing. Normally, I would not recommend that you go out and get into a bunch of credit card debt to start a business. But it worked for him because he had good business sense. But due to unforeseen circumstances, he was in his 40s and had nothing at the end of the day. But to this day, he's got to be 74 or 75. I can think of at least 4 properties that he flipped because him and I had my own cattle trailers, so he'd give me a shout if he needed help with moving a larger dairy from one location to another. And he was one of those guys that you looked up to in the business because he was making it. Even during hard times, he was pulling through. So basically what I'm saying is you can't fake it until you make it. And poor planning, you're doomed to fail. You need to write things out and think things out. And when it comes to accomplishing things, you need to break it down instead of looking at the whole and having overwhelm you to the point of you not doing anything. And that's in business and that's in life, If you want to accomplish things, then you have to look at what it is you want to accomplish. Can you break that down into steps that you want to accomplish? And then if you work the steps and get to the end goal and accomplish it, then isn't that a better way than looking at the whole job and becoming overwhelmed and not doing any of it? Whether you want to succeed in business, whether you want to succeed in being a better partner, a better parent, a better this, a better that, you need to know how to manage time, and you need to know how to problem solve, and you need to know how to approach things to get things done. Pretty simple. But yet I see over and over and over again people skipping steps and hoping for good results when it wasn't very well thought out. Now, if your dream is to become a professional fisherman or a commercial and residential landscaper that's making a profit, yes, it's doable. But you need to know how to catch fish, and you need to have a large customer base to help support the costs that you're going to incur. And there's a lot of cost when it comes to landscapers. What you don't hear about is the fuel that they have to use, the breakdowns. One hydro gear motor could set them back almost $1,000 depending on the unit. And a lot of these guys are doing their own work to save money. And I know of guys that are big enough so they've got 2 or 3 crews out, and they have backup mowers that they have at their shop, and they're rotating them out, and they're bringing in the machines that need to be serviced after so many hours used, and they're staying on top of it. That's how you make it. So on that note, you guys have a great Monday. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section. I appreciate you all. And if you do have topics you want me to cover, speak up. I'm not someone that knows everything. And some things I know are just enough to get me into trouble. But I do know business, and I do know real world things in life, and a lot of them correlate. They're the same. It's all on how we approach things. See you in the next video.